we are going to be talking about whispers from the crime scene. So we're going to be talking about basically police crime scenes and paranormal and how they like intertwine. So if that sounds good, keep watching. I was thinking about doing this video for a while. I've got a couple requests and emails from all of you who've subscribed to the channel. So I want to thank everyone that is new to our channel. And I want to thank some of the OG subscribers who have been members for, 15 plus years now. So thank you so much, everyone who has joined our YouTube family. I really appreciate that. So what kind of sparked this video is when I was little, I went trick-or-treating at a neighbor's house, and this is the inspiration behind this live video that I'm doing. A neighbor had died. Well, I don't want to go, viewer discretion is advised when I say this next part because it is kind of graphic. So I was about 8 years old in foster care, and I was trick-or-treating at my neighbor's house. Trick-or-treating had just finished, and I watched 3 individuals come, and they brutally murdered my neighbor with a crowbar. He died instantly. Now, the strange thing is, so those of you who don't know me, I can actually see spirits. And so when this neighbor of mine died, he had like an out-of-body experience. So his soul came out of his body and was looking at his physical body as he was being put into a body bag. So not only did I see my neighbor who died, but I saw his physical soul like leave his body. And it was the strangest thing in the entire world. So as I'm watching this investigation go on with the police, I'm seeing literally my neighbor who died and his soul standing next to him. I can see him. I'm on the roof of my house just because, why not? And I'm talking to the police. Then the police officer got this really like terrified, animalistic like look in his eyes. And I said to him, hey, you, can you see that second guy there next to you? So I come down off the roof and I'm talking to the police who had no idea I was sitting there the whole time. And apparently the police officer was able to see the man's soul that left his physical body. So it wasn't just me. The police officer could physically see this. And everyone else thought that this police officer was crazy. But obviously 2 people can't be crazy at the same time in the same room, right? So that's the inspiration behind today's video is, do paranormal things happen during police investigations? Absolutely. It doesn't even have to be a police investigation for something paranormal to happen. So that's just one incident where something actually happened, and that was in a small town called Sydney, Ohio. Now, it didn't make the paper because obviously they have to separate professional from personal beliefs. So stuff like that will never be in the paper, but it's unfortunate because it really did happen. Now, the article made the paper, but not about the paranormal part, just about my neighbor being brutally murdered with a crowbar. Every year I think about that incident on Halloween. And so we're just going to talk about some things some of you have sent in an email. I got some good questions from some of you guys, and I want to answer those today. We live next to a graveyard. They make plenty of noise at night, especially on a new moon. I've heard that. So when it's a full moon, yeah, the energy is more ramped up. Supposedly, and then with not only that, but with Halloween and a full moon, there are certain times of the year that the spiritual energy is more ramped up and can return to the earth. All Hallows Eve is a prime example of ramped up energy, or Halloween as we call it in the United States. Me too. I've been doing paranormal investigations probably since I was about 8. When I had my first paranormal encounter with seeing my neighbor's soul leave his body. That was kind of terrifying. But it was also interesting. It led me to realize that I have gifts that maybe not everyone has. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to answer some of your guys' questions that you sent in. Let's see. What are the most famous cases where police encountered the paranormal? Okay, so some of the most famous cases that come to mind for me are the Demon House in Gary, Indiana, back in 2014. I'm just reading you some of my notes that I wrote down. Officers reported a child walking backwards up a wall. That would creep me out. And some even admitted to hearing strange growls in the house. And now these were trained law enforcement officers that are giving these statements, and they don't scare easily, but that's kind of wild. Can you just imagine somebody like crawling? Like, I can't even, I'm not ambidextrous, so I cannot bend my ligaments or contort my ligaments like a contortionist would do in a circus. But can you imagine someone crawling up the wall backwards? I would shit bricks. That would scare the crap out of me. And I've seen a lot over the years as a paranormal investigator. There's a lot of stigma around law enforcement and paranormal because you have to be able to separate fact from fiction, and they can't put that, something that you can't explain, you can't really put in a police report. I have several family members who work in law enforcement, and you can't say, I saw, a silhouette of so-and-so, but I could see right through her, because everyone's going to think you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, so to speak. I've seen several ghosts, actually. As I was saying, like 3 or 4 videos back, if you've watched some of my recent videos, I used to live in a property that was built in 1810. And yeah, we had several entities lived in our house, good, bad, the ugly, poltergeist, a family died in front of our house, a family died in the house. There was actually a guy that was murdered in the last house that I lived in, along with his dog, and several things happened in that house, and it was very, very haunted. Things would fly off the wall, picture frames, just different things. Cryptics, yeah, there's a lot of different things that go on in the cemetery. I see stuff all the time. My husband will see some stuff, but he doesn't see nearly as much as me. It depends on, right here, if your pineal gland, your third eye is open. If your third eye is open, you'll see a lot more. And that's just not even related to paranormal investigation. That's just, if your chakras are clean and your third eye is open, you will see so much more. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. And this is something, like I said, this video has been something I've been wanting to make for a while. I've been thinking about this, and I'd love to debate with you guys. What do you think? Can paranormal events occur during police investigations, like things that they cannot explain? I think a lot of people call them ghosts, but I think spirits are the appropriate term. I know that, like, for me, I have a haunted doll. Her name is Agent X, and she does not like to be called a ghost. And actually, when I refer to her as a ghost, it makes her angry. She prefers to be referred to as a spirit. That's interesting. Yeah, different cultures believe different things around death in the spiritual realm. So there are spirits, and there are cryptics, and there are demons. They are all totally different. They're not the same thing. That is a good question, though. And when I'm talking spirits, I'm not talking someone putting a sheet over their head and boo! I'm not talking about that. I'm actually talking about, like, silhouettes of people that you can literally see through. And some of them will look very real, and some of them will not. It just depends on their energy, because for a spirit or that is inhabiting a body, it takes a lot for them to be able to use that energy to manifest a clear enough image of them so that you can see them. Sometimes you'll swear you're having a clear conversation with a real person, and then they're gone. I've had that happen to me a couple times. See what I'm gonna look at a couple questions and read them, because I think these questions you all have sent me are very intriguing. Oh, so there's also the Enfield poltergeist case from the United Kingdom, like in the late 70s. An officer signed a statement saying she saw a chair move across the room by itself, and that this kind of thing usually doesn't happen and ends up in the official report, but this one did. Also, more recently, In rural areas of Maine, officers have reported responding to a 911 call from houses that do not exist anymore. And in one case, the voice of a woman was crying for help. When they got to the address, they discovered it had been torn down years ago and there was nobody there. I've actually heard about this one. It was actually in the news, like, God, I think like as early as like 2 years ago, where there was a house that burnt down and they still get 911 calls from the incident. The lady's house, if I'm not mistaken, caught on fire and she was trying to get out and she tried to call the fire department. They didn't get there on time and then she ended up dying in this house fire. And even though there is no physical building there anymore, like her spirit is just stuck in this, I guess, time loop, you could say. And so even in death, she is still trapped because whatever she needed to do on Earth didn't get finished. So she had unfinished business and her spirit is stuck at this location calling 911. But even though they are ghostly calls, they do have to take everything very seriously, because even though there's no one at this property, if something happened and there were someone there, they could actually be like sued if something did happen. That one was a very interesting case that I remember reading about. Oh, what are we talking about? We're talking about, do people believe that paranormal things can happen during police investigations? Or have you ever seen anything happen? If you're a police officer yourself, anyone in the comments, have you seen anything happen while on a crime scene that's paranormal? Just catching up a few people that are new. Let me know. Sometimes the audio does lag, so let me know if you can't hear me. And I'm also reading off some of your guys' questions that you have sent for this video as well. So one of the questions I got just now is, how do officers typically react when they encounter unexplained activity on a crime scene? Okay, so like most departments don't have a physical official protocol for if you experience something paranormal. You just have to treat everything like it is a real thing or a real threat to the situation and secure the crime scene and bag up any evidence. But when you're writing your report, anything paranormal has to be left out because, again, they're like separating fact from fiction. Goodness, I'm a little tongue-tied this morning. I think the cat got my tongue. So they have to separate physical evidence from fiction, and it's kind of hard to tie paranormal into a crime scene because you have to give a report, and it's basically like if someone else didn't see it, it didn't happen, so to speak. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here and I'm still finishing my coffee. For anyone who's a horror fan, check out my mug from Spirit Halloween store. It's a ghost face. I love, 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 love my coffee mugs. I'm going to read this out loud if you're okay with that. That's very interesting. We had a call when I was on dispatch from someone's cell phone. They called about a body, and when we got there, oh, wow. Wow, that's a little graphic. I'm not going to read the rest of that out loud. That is weird. I wonder how that happened. Because, yeah, that doesn't seem normal if something's decomposing for 2 weeks. I mean, when a body is decomposing, the stench is horrendous as all the liquids and the gases leave the body. That's something horrendous. The fact that no one called it in that day is shocking. It's shocking to get a call that day if something happened like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, the smell is horrendous. I personally, myself, have never actually seen a decomposing body, but I've seen a decomposing animal, and the stench is awful. There is, if you're going to school, like to become a CSI, crime scene investigator, they actually do have, I think it's in Texas, if I remember reading correctly. I was just reading this a couple days ago. They have what's called a body farm. And so people who die can actually donate their, like me or you, can donate our physical body if we're dead. And they have like shallow graves that they dig and they put the bodies in them. Essentially, you're donating it to science. And they put them in the grave, and then they show you different states of decomposition of the body. And so it helps students who are trying to become crime scene investigators learn about decomposing bodies and what to look for when they're out in the weather. Fun, interesting fact. Yeah, the stench of a body is awful. I've never personally had to deal with the stench, but I used to be a security guard about 5 years ago in a hospital working 12-hour shifts. And one of our jobs, I can say this now that I don't work for the company anymore. I'm not held to no like privacy contract. I just can't say names. But I worked at Avon Hospital in Ohio, and I'd work 12-hour shifts. And I remember there was this guy there. He was a Russian guy that died, and we had to put him in a body bag, and I had to put a toe tag on him. And that was my first like ever close-up experience with a dead body being in my face next to my neighbor dying and my grandma. My first adult experience with a dead body, and that was terrifying. Because while we're putting the toe tag on the guy's body and zipping him up in the body bag, and I have to like write up my report, his spirit slash soul was like hanging around, watching us zip him up, watching me put the toe tag on him, asking me if he was dead. It was a very strange and overwhelming feeling because I didn't know the person. I just kind of would see his brother come and visit him. And it's just like, you know, when you can just sense and smell like death, you just know someone's gonna die. I just, like, for about a week now, I knew this guy was gonna die at the hospital. My job was to make my rounds and make sure patients were in their room and that there wasn't anybody on any particular floor. But the hospital that I used to work at, because they had so many people that would die there, it was very haunted. A lot of things happened that I couldn't explain at the hospital. Hello, welcome. But yes, Vicks Vapor Rub is a lifesaver, not just for your sore, dry feet, but to plug up your nose and the stench of in the event you have to deal with a decomposing body. I agree with that. Huh. Yeah, no, it is very respectful to pay respects to the family and you know, to kind of respect different people's beliefs around when a loved one dies. But yeah, I've experienced a lot of things, even aside from police investigations. I see spirits all the time. We have a couple that live in our apartment. We have a ghost named Mabel that lives in our apartment, and she's an old lady that walks around in a nightgown with lavender flowers on, and sometimes she'll have like really thick bifocals on, which are just large reading glasses. And other times she'll be walking around with a cane, and she just like observes what we do. But yeah, she was somebody that died in our apartment. Our complex has been around since like the 60s. But yeah, she died in here, and the landlord never disclosed that to her. But I mean, I kind of knew that because I see her pop up from time to time. How about you? Have any of you guys seen anything or experienced anything? I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Or what are your beliefs around the paranormal? Oh, this is a very good question. I actually like this one. I like questions that really get my mental juices flowing and allow me to really think. Has any evidence ever gone missing under mysterious or paranormal circumstances. Well, like I said, I don't work in a police department, but security is kind of as close as you can get to being a cop. You're like a rent-a-cop, so to speak. I would say yes. I've talked to a few friends and they said that they've booked stuff into evidence and then they go back 5-10 minutes later and then stuff is missing from their evidence locker. So I would say, yeah, things can come up missing all the time, whether it's paranormal or just the officer absolutely lost the evidence. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I see a couple new people in the comments. Let's see, I'm like reading through all your guys' questions. You guys have sent so many awesome questions. Also, if you don't, because I know some of you don't feel comfortable, you can always leave comments or questions in the video section, and I always try my best to either answer them in the same video. If not, I make separate videos depending on what your questions are about the paranormal. Okay, this one kind of seems like a duplicate question. But I do believe I answered this one already. Are there any 911 calls that can't be explained? Okay, so yeah, there was a 911 call. I was just reading this the other day. It was like a news article. It made the news. There was a 911 call where there was a man with glowing eyes spotted in this child's house, and he called 911, except when the police showed up, there were no signs of break-ins, and the kid swore that he was watching him from like by the walls of his house. And when the police came, there was nobody there. And then there was another call that took place in the state of Colorado in 2016, where a man said they were coming through his mirror, like a mirror that you look at yourself in every day to like brush your hair. He said something was coming from the mirror to kill him. And when the police arrived, the man was dead. But there was no signs of trauma and no reason for his death. Until this day, this case is still unsolved and continues to puzzle investigators. So yeah, some people say, oh, mental instability, mental illness is a reason why people will see things that are not there or claim that they see things that are not there. Although mental illness does exist, I don't think that that has anything to do with people investigating the paranormal or people being police officers. I think that there are true forces of evil out there, that there is no reckoning with them, and we just don't know what they're going to do, and we don't know what they're capable of. But people can't put that, police officers can't put that in a report. EMTs can't put that in a report. They will write down instead that someone's maybe mentally unstable, which is unfortunate because then it leads a lot of people like me and others who investigate the paranormal to not be believed. But I 100% stand by it until the day that I die, that yes, do spirits exist? Yes. Does the devil exist? Yes. Does demonic activity and poltergeist activity exist? Absolutely. Are there things that are not explained that are out there? You know, aliens, spaceships? Absolutely. We are not the only life on this planet. And to say that aliens or paranormal doesn't exist, you may just not have experienced anything yourself yet. That does not mean it does not exist. God, that coffee really hits the spot. You know, I've seen orbs too. So not necessarily when you see or encounter spirits will they necessarily be a full apparition, person dressed in clothes. It might just be a light that streaks across the sky. Everybody experiences something different. It could be something like a wisp of smoke and there's a face in it. Like every experience is unique to the person seeing it. Yes. Yes, I am. I think, like I said, a lot of people who have their pineal gland or their third eye open tend to see more than people who have their third eye, which is up here, center of your forehead. A lot of people who have their third eye closed, whether you meditate, practice Buddhism, chakras, crystal alignment, whether you believe any of that, you can still open up your pineal gland, your third eye, which gives you a lot of clarity around the world and what's going on, and just kind of even the paranormal world. You'll be able to see a lot more. Like when my third eye was closed, there wasn't a whole lot that I saw, but now that my third eye is open, I see so much more. There are so many crazy different things that I see all the time. We were in a cemetery yesterday, and I happened to see there was a spirit walking through the cemetery, and this lady dressed in like an old Victorian dress, and on the center of her head there was a silhouette of an axe hanging out of her head. She didn't even seem to know that it was there, but I did. And she just walked up to me and started talking to me, and it was like really weird because she seemed like a real person. Like the way her energy came about when I encountered her, she came off as a real person, and it looked like real blood coming out of the side of her head with where the axe was located. But the crazy thing is, as I turned back to, say something to her, she was gone. So obviously, I knew that I was talking to a spiritual entity. Let's see what other questions you guys have sent me. Can the paranormal help solve crimes or just confuse investigators? So that is actually a really good question. So a lot of people don't know this, but police departments actively work with, if necessary, psychics, forensic psychics, which are people who can get touch objects and get a reading off of them, get kind of a premonition, which is like a memory, and they can see different things. And so many of these psychics that work with the police are 100% accurate. There's a lot of phony baloney people out there, like Madame Cleo from the 80s. I don't know if y'all remember her. Call me now and I'll tell you your future. Those people on TV, they're fake, but there are real people out there who do have psychic abilities and premonitions and can help solve and have helped solve police crimes. So yes, I do believe that psychic crime scene investigators are helpful. They're not used as much as they should be, but they are helpful, and they have actually helped crack a couple cases. Let's see. Noreen, if I'm saying her name wrong, let me know. Noreen Renier, Noreenrenier. She's a psychic who works with a lot of the different police departments to help solve cold case crimes. I was trying to see what this question is. Well, this is a long question. So if I pause for a minute, I'm reading questions that people have sent me that relate to this video. Yeah, so it says that she's helped police crack several cold cases, including finding missing bodies, where bodies are located, as well as weapons or people who have actually committed the crime. It's not like something, a fix-all, end-all, like, hey, oh my God, I'm working with a psychic who's gonna, like, basically solve the whole crime. No, they pull them in when they need them. That is a very interesting question and a good one. I haven't really thought about that because you don't really hear too many crime cases in 2025 where they're actively using psychics to help them solve cold case crimes or crimes that are even currently open. I mean, if that were the case, there wouldn't be any missing children in the world right now. That is true. I have heard people say that if you do a lot of grounding, meaning your shoes are off and you're walking in nature, touching the dirt, touching the grass, grounding to the earth, it actually helps reset the body physically and mentally, and spiritually. It helps with your third eye. It helps get a lot of clarity. I love being out in nature. I love photographing nature. Yeah, nature is amazing. It can do wonders for a lot of people. Let's see. So I'd like to hear from some of you guys in the comments. What do you believe about the paranormal as it pertains to police investigations, or even if you have you ever visited a museum that was haunted, or a grocery store? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. Excuse me. If I sound like I'm having a hard time talking, it is very smoky in our area. We are having what's called the grass fire going on right now. So the air quality outside sucks. And I have asthma, so it's very hard to breathe. And it's been like filling up our apartments with smoke, but they haven't asked us to evacuate or anything yet. So that's been fun. For me personally, I do believe that there is sometimes things that the police can't explain, or even I can't explain. That's why I think it's best for the police to stick to protocol, because then there's no questions when they're writing their reports. Like, I saw, a silhouette at the crime scene. Did you catch that on camera? Like, did you take a picture or did you video that? That sounds really interesting. That would be really interesting to see. I've caught quite a few things on camera myself, video even, but I do actually have some pictures. I'll have to go through my storage, and maybe I'll do a separate video where I share that. But I actually have a picture where I went to a cemetery and I was looking at, it's called Franklin Cemetery in Santa Rosa, California, oldest historic cemetery in the area. And I took a picture of this headstone, and they were called the Lemon family. And they actually had like fake lemons on their headstone. Anyway, I took a picture, there were nothing there. And then all of a sudden I go back to look at the picture on my phone, and there's this like face of a baby like looking up at me in front of the headstone. And then off to the side of the headstone, there's like these two twin boys, like with bright red hair, Irish boys, like sitting there. But it's just like spirits in the picture, not very clear. But there was nothing in this cemetery. And I have a couple pictures of things like that. That sounds interesting. That sounds like fun. Was that scary? Oh yeah, SD cards. Those things are amazing. I have an SD card for my camera, and I always have to transfer things to CDs so that I can keep using it. But you never know what you're gonna catch, whether it's on camera or on video, or what you're physically going to see with your own eye. That sounds really cool. You sound like you guys like to go on a lot of adventures. Do you still do that? That sounds really cool, though. You sound like you would be a fun person to meet. Let's see. Making sure I didn't miss any of anybody's questions. Okay, so I'm going to circle back to this because I did see that I missed a while ago, somebody had asked me this. I'm going to circle back to it. So the inspiration for this video came from the fact that when I was around 8 years old, so this would have been, God, 1995, 96, something like that. Maybe even 97. We're in 2025, so I'm like really thinking back like 25, 30 years. I feel so old saying that, but I was 8 years old. So this would have been, I think, 1996. I was sitting on the roof of this house, and this was my first like paranormal encounter. seeing someone's soul and then also seeing the police officer see the same thing as me. So I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy because he's seeing the same thing as me. So my neighbor, I went trick-or-treating at his house, and like I said, everything was fine. And then everybody went inside. I sat on the roof of my house next door, and three people came that were dressed in red and black, green and black, blue and black, flannel shirts, black shirts, blue jeans, like steel toe boots, with ski mask on. And then they came and they just crowbarred my neighbor to death for $12. Now, it's not to say that this still doesn't go on, but a lot of people have issues with like drugs and money. And I'm thinking maybe that's the reason that they crowbarred him to death. They like literally took a crowbar meant for fixing your car, and they killed him with it. They beat him to death. As they were, you know, killing him, and he was bleeding out, dying from the serious internal and external injuries, I literally watched this man's soul rise up out of his body. And that's wild. I mean, I literally thought I was seeing things, and that's kind of forever messed with me because I was like 8 years old when that happened. And anyway, the man's soul was literally sitting next to his body as he's getting zipped up in the body bag. His soul is watching his physical body get zipped up in a body bag, putting a toe tag on him, things like that. And I'm watching the police watch me, and then talking to the police and remembering how terrified this police officer was because he could see the same thing I could, the man's soul leaving his body. And then after this happened, there was a bright light above this body bag, and his soul just kind of went up into the sky. It was the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And although I know that a lot of people doubt me on that, I'm not concerned about that. I know what I saw, and I know what the police officer saw. But that's wild. And he couldn't even write it in his report. It's the damnedest thing. It's also the damnedest thing till this day that they still haven't solved this murder of my neighbor. They never caught the people who did it. And even when I went to go describe to the police what happened, they didn't believe me. They're like, oh, there's no way you could have, seen this. You can see a lot from the rooftop of the house that I was on. You have a full view of the entire neighbor's house. So it's unfortunate. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Do they even make those nowadays? I know that's a pretty good brand. I think I had a Canon brand camera for the longest time. Obviously, my kids have since broken it, and I'm ordering another one. But yeah, you can catch a lot on camera. The problem, though, with technology is that they haven't adapted it in a way that if you catch some kind of spiritual thing happening on camera, that their energy doesn't make the electromagnetic frequency dysfunction in the electronic devices. Because spirits can oftentimes affect really the electronic devices that you're using, and so sometimes it may cut out, or you may not see anything at all, or it heavily impairs what you've caught. Yeah, poltergeists in particular possess a lot of energy. Speaking of interesting things happening in the news, did anybody see that news article recently about the teddy bear? I guess there's a creator on Etsy that designs like almost Ed Gein inspired, and if you don't know who he is, he's a serial killer. They make Ed Gein inspired teddy bears, so it looks like the teddy bear it's a $160 teddy bear on Etsy, and this thing's like gross looking, but if you're into that, these things are gnarly. I'd pay the $160 for it because it's cool. But the teddy bear is sewn together in a way, it's got fake human skin on the teddy bear, but it looks realistic. And so this person placed this human skin like teddy bear I think it was at a bus stop, and they had to close this whole area down, and they were doing a police investigation to figure out whether this was like real human skin or just a prop. And it was one of those things where it said even police officers that were investigating this human skin sewn together teddy bear, they were like thrown up on scene, only to find out that it was something literally made on Etsy and shipped to the US. It was like it was a prop. It was very weird. If you haven't read that article, you should check it out. I'm always intrigued by just different things that keep happening in the news, and you just never know what's going to happen. At first, I even thought it was real. This teddy bear literally looks like, it's not even a regular stuffed teddy bear. It literally looks like human skin sewn on a teddy bear. Made the news. Let me see if I can find this article and show you guys. This thing is gross looking, but it's gnarly. If you're into that, it's gnarly. I'm into horror stuff, so this is kind of gnarly. Okay, I gotta show you guys. This is like super, super gnarly. Okay. Tell me if you guys can see that. That is, I'm gonna blow up the picture. It is so gnarly looking. There's literally, when I say this is some Ed Gein stuff going on here, this is some Ed Gein stuff going on here. It's just like worse than Saw. And if you haven't seen that movie, you should see it. I just watched one on Netflix recently, and let me tell you, I didn't sleep last night because of it. Okay, come on, pull it up. There we go. Human skin teddy bear found outside IE Arco. And they're calling it diabolical. Look at this. Look at that. Gotta love it when these stupid ads pop up. But look at this. That is gnarly looking. And so this was left at a bus stop, and they thought that somebody had cut someone up and used a animal flesh cutter to cut the skin off of a human and sew it on a teddy bear. And literally, this was left outside of a business. They found the person who did it, but that is diabolical. That's some Ed Gein stuff right there. That's some stuff I feel like you would even see in some of these horror movies nowadays. I mean, does that thing not look gross? I don't know about that. That is, ugh. 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 That's all I can say. This thing is when nightmares are made of. But if you haven't, like I said, if you haven't read this article on the human skin teddy bear found, you all should definitely go take at least 30 seconds of your day to go read this if you're intrigued by horror, paranormal, serial killers, things like that. I don't know. I feel like after I watch something like this, it helps me sleep better at night because, you know, I'm not one of those crazy people that you see running around the news. It seems like our jails are full of these people lately. But I'm going to go ahead and give everyone a few minutes if you'd like to ask me any questions about our video, and open up the live to ask other questions if you'd like as well. Just no personal questions. So you can ask any questions that you want about the video or any of the videos that I've covered recently. Just like I said, no personal questions at this time. I do want to say, I want to thank everybody who has joined our channel recently and shown the YouTube family some love. Thank you so much for all of our OG subscribers and our new subscribers. Shout out to you. Thank you for making our channel possible and helping reach more people who are interested in the same content as well. I also want to do a huge shout out to our two biggest supporters right now. So if you're listening, I want to do a shout out to Parthmore Paranormal and UFO Angie Rick on YouTube. If you haven't, check out their channels as well. They do similar content, classic cars, paranormal investigations, And then they just talk about a bunch of different random things on their channels, so check them out as well. UFO Angie Rick also does car shows, and he talks about aliens, Grey Family, etc. So if you haven't, check out More Paranormal and check out UFO Angie Rick. I will link their pages when I'm done with this video, so you can check them out as well. But they're our two biggest supporters. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. But yeah, I do want to go back to the original person's question that I see up here a couple comments ago. My thing started freezing while I was looking at it. Somebody had said, I don't know if they're still on here, they had said that when they had to go to a crime scene, they said that they had to plug up their nose with Vicks Vapor Rub. Are you able to disclose more of that story or not? No. I'm just kind of curious what happened. Make sure I didn't miss any more questions from you guys. But yeah, that story about the teddy bear is diabolical, so go check that out if you have the stomach for it. My final thoughts for this video are, I am wondering if any of you have experienced something strange, whether you're in law enforcement or not, or you're a firefighter. Have you experienced anything paranormal, either on call, on work, at a hospital, crime scene, or anywhere else that you work at? What have you experienced that's paranormal? I did get an email from one of the viewers saying that they work in a dress shop in New Mexico, and she said that they've experienced some paranormal activity in their dress shop, that their mannequin will come to life at night and start moving and dancing on its own. I thought that was really intriguing. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this live because I do actually have to go and get ready. I'm getting ready to go to a interview, so that'll be fun. I hope everyone is having an amazing day, and I will see you all in our next video. Bye for now. Have a great afternoon.